What is going on, all you GBA type people? This is Tom. I'm bringing you guys a very late Week 6 upload against Randy and his Houston Team Rockets. If you guys haven't seen his battle yet or you haven't checked out his channel, he was a very solid member of the D League for the past 2 seasons. Someone who I genuinely enjoyed watching for pretty much all of his matches, and a very good friend of mine. So if you haven't checked out his channel yet, link will be in the description down below. Very nice guy, very humble, and very interesting to listen to in terms of live comps. Not very many people I like watching their live comps. He's in a very special few that I'll watch his videos and subscribe to him. So, all right, so Week 6, Randy's team, I'm not going to lie, is extremely threatening, mostly because we see, if any of you guys are following the fan doc, because unfortunately the Twitter hasn't been up and running in terms of posting the MVP list, but 2 of his main threats have been Yveltal and Infernape, and have been doing extremely well this season. So his whole roster actually is Yveltal, Clefable, Infernape, Suicune, Roserade, Jolteon, Metagross, Porygon 2, Hippowdon, Lycanroc Sun, Megalodios. His users are Infernape and Lycanroc Sun. When I look at his team, obviously 2 biggest threats are going to be Yveltal and Infernape. Other problems, I think, are Jolteon, just because it's very fast and can hit a lot of my team super effectively with its coverage. And then besides that, he has a very annoying bulk that can set up on me, like Clefable, Suicune, Metagross, Porygon 2, things of that nature. And then just very solid, roll mons like Roserade. That could be like Spadef Wall, set up hazards. Hippowdon, same thing. Megalodios, it could be a wild card. So I got to prepare for pretty much everything on his team. However, I think the main things that are going to come are Infernape, because my fire resists kind of suck. And then besides that, Yveltal has to come. One of the big issues I see are things like Suicune setting up, because he has been, honestly, he's probably one of the most effective people in using Suicune in terms of its Calm Mind defensive set. Roserade I can see coming as a hazard stacker. Metagross I can see as an AV user for the likes of the Latios, even the Mesprit. And then besides that, everything else is kind of up in the air and what else he could bring. So my team is going to consist of Tapu Koko. It's going to consist of Weavile, Gliscor, Latios, Mesprit, and Scizor. So the first set is going to be a Spadef Tapu Koko set. It's going to be set to outpace, I believe, the Infernape. Or I'm sorry, the Lycanroc, just in case he brings it. I'd like to be prepared and be able to outpace it if need be. It's going to be max HP and very solid amount of Spadef. This is going to be mostly my Yveltal check. Coco's probably one of the best checks to Yveltal. If he runs a timid set to try and outpace, Weavile, my base 95s, I could pretty much lock him down. I can T-Bolt super effective, U-turn for pivot, roost, and taunt. Taunt, and it being Spadef set, I could pretty much shut down Suicune from a Calm Minding and shit. Additionally, I could even shut down Clefable from Calm Minding or recovering, things of that nature. So that's kind of the idea about Koko. Just keep it healthy. I could very reliably check the Yveltal. Next up, we have Weavile. It's going to be a choice banded set. Mostly, this thing is probably a very solid breaker. I have punishment on there so that if his his Suicune or his Clefable get up, or mostly Suicune gets up to +2, +3 with Calm Mind, it's gonna be doing more than knockoff will be doing. I shard there to revenge and otherwise get really solid damage off on things like Yveltal, things like Megalodios. Knockoff, I'm also set to outspeed the Lycanroc, and Ice Cold Crash is there for very solid damage. But knockoff almost across the vast majority of his team outside of Clefable is not really appreciated. Suicune doesn't want to lose its item. Yveltal doesn't want to lose its item, especially because it can't be a Z move. Same thing with Infernape. So his switch-ins are very strapped in terms of this Weavile. Very straightforward set though, just kind of a breaker kind of type mon. So next up we have my defensive check being Gliscor, Earthquake, U-turn, Roost, and Defog. Pretty much just my best check to Infernape. Now he can carry the HP Ice, but if he does and he's locked into it, I have decent ways of switching into something reliably. But, this thing is pretty much a very solid check to both his Metagross and even his Infernape, because Earthquake's going to be doing super effective damage to both, and if anything else comes in, I could pretty much pivot out, but Roost to keep myself healthy, as well as the Toxic Orb. So, again, straightforward set. I believe the 60 speed is there to outpace an Adamant Max Speed Metagross. Next up, we have Psyche Latios. You've seen this set before, the 2 attacks, Combine, Recover set. Side Shock and Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt is there to, because I could like +2, +3, I can pretty much knock out the Suicune. Side Shock there for Psy Z, it can blast away the Infernape, the Clefable even. Roserade is going to get blown away by Side Shock, so max HP and max speed. This is there so that I can't be Pursuit Trapped like a Choice Bandit or a very offensive Metagross. Recovered to keep myself healthy, Calm Mind to set up. Yeah, you guys get it. Again, very straightforward set. You've seen this before, but once I get to like +2 or +3, even just +2 period, I can do a very solid amount of damage to the vast majority of his team. So next up, we have a max special attack, high speed, Scarf, Mesprit. Now, see, its only move is Side Shock, but the idea here is that with max special attack, I can knock out or get Roserade down to a Sash if he brings it. U-turn is there for pivot. Trick, my idea here is that one of his best stealth rockers or just like offensive bulky mons is Clefable. So if he does lead with Clefable, I can pretty much trick it and cripple it, get up my rocks, and then get out. So that's kind of the idea there. And I can take his leftovers, probably is what I'll be carrying on like a Berry, but even so, it's better me having it than him having it. A little bit of HP, and then just this is more of like a utility mon that I could use to kind of cripple specifically his Clefable. Last up, we have another Choice Bandit set. It's going to be a Scissor. 28 speed to creep and potentially outspeed his Clefable and his Porygon 2 at base 60. U-turn, Bullet Punch, Knockoff, and Pursuit. Pursuit is there to trap a Latios. U-turn for pivot. It's going to do very solid damage and can almost knock out or get rid of really big damage off on a lot of things on his team. Bullet Punch is there because in tandem with like rocks, Bullet Punch is going to be doing solid damage to anything outside of Metagross and the Suicune. Knockoff, which is very general, is good, solid damage. Things like Porygon 2. And again, things that want to lose their items for Randy's team. So, going into his team, we see he brings Clefable, Metagross, little Megaladios, Suicune, Yveltal, and Infernape. So a lot of things I expected. Probably could have swapped out Roserade for potentially Metagross. But besides that, a lot of the team is pretty much what I expected. I think he heavily focuses on the Mega Lucario, which I decided not to bring, mostly because, well, you know, watching his match, he did believe that it was a very good mon to bring. The only way it was going to be good is if it got to +2, which, based on how I expected Randy to build and otherwise just the overall build of his team, a lot of resistances or even just neutral hits at neutral without any setup to almost everything on his team. Like, I either can't set up +2 based on what he'll be bringing, especially on a physical side, or if I do, he has things that revenges, things like Infernape, things like Yveltal, because he has very solid Scarfers, things like Roserade, things like Metagross. So, and then things that, you know, Mega Lucario would be able to set up on, being like Roxung and Porygon 2, are probably 2 of his worst brings that he could bring to this match. So I really didn't want to bother with that. So we're going to hop into the match, and we're going to see how this goes. Like I said, I am going to lead off with my Mesprit. Just going to skip forward. Yes, so I lead off with Mesprit as he leads off with Clefable. You know, we'll see how this match goes, and we'll see if you guys haven't watched his match. It's already up. He did a live comp, so it's like a 60-minute match. His match is very long, which I'll explain why it was so long. But my plan for leading off is I'm going to basically give him the Choice Scarf as I get the leftovers as he goes for Moonblast. I expected rocks here, but if he ended up going for rocks, I probably would have pivoted without getting my rocks up and got right out into my Gliscor. So I'd be able to Roost off, get the Toxic Orb up, and basically be able to cripple anything. Or just keep the rocks off while I can get back into Mesprit and get my rocks up. So I end up getting my rocks up as he goes for another Moonblast. Now, I know he's Scarfed. He's locked into this, but based on like what I was seeing, I thought he had a little bit of special attack investment. I really didn't want Gliscor to take that, even though I know I could have gotten the Toxic Orb up. So that's kind of why I didn't hard switch out. So I go for U-turn as I end up going out into my my Coco, which, and again, I'm sorry, I go out into my Scizor. So I know he's locked into Moonblast, and I know I could resist this, and I could either click Bullet Punch and knock him out, or I can go for U-turn expecting him to switch. Now I expect him to switch here, and unfortunately he does show that he's faster than me, so he has more than 28 speed investment, which, you know, forces me to take 2 hits, not just 1. I would have preferred to only take 1, but I go for U-turn here, as, you know, I do pretty sizable chunk, you know, considering it's resisted. But Choice Bandit, Adamant, Scizor, it's no joke, man. So I go out and attack a Coco, and my idea here is I'm just gonna potentially click Thunderbolt, see what kind of damage I can get off on this Clefable, or otherwise on anything else that may or may not want to come in. So I believe right here I do end up clicking T-Bolt, as he brings in his Latias. Now I know this is resisted. The only other move I have for this is a U-turn. I didn't bring Dazzling Gleam, as you guys saw, but I do end up getting the paralysis. Now this may or may not be important, mostly because I know I am faster, and because, you know, Latias, while uninhibited, I know I could weaken it down, and otherwise he can't really do much to me because I could taunt it to stop any sort of calm mind bullshit, as well as, you know, roost up to otherwise stop this Latias from being annoying. So I'm going to go for U-turn, and I'm going to pivot out. I really didn't want this Latias, the Coco, to get whittled down, so my idea here is just kind of maybe to sack off Mesprit to see what he wants to go for. We see Ice Beam, so based on like that damage, obviously he may or may not have some special attack investment, but I kind of want to see what his other moves are, because I know obviously U-turn, it's not really doing that much, but I want to see if I'm going to force him to roost here, or if he's just going to go for another Ice Beam. But I don't want to go out into Weavile, because I know I can knock him out with a knockoff, but I want to keep him in a range that I can reliably knock him out. But I want to know what his other coverage move is, because it could either be Dragon Pulse, it could be Psyshock or Psychic, it could be Flamethrower, or it could be some sort of coverage move. So I'm going to taunt here, as he's probably just going to go for another Ice Beam, which he ends up doing. He's possibly going for a freeze, and knowing Randy's luck, because if you guys have watched some of his matches, he got extremely lucky. He you know, scored a win against Goldoa with you know, a late game type flinch or whatever it was. So I'm just gonna keep clicking T-Bolt. I know he's taunted. I can't really do much, but I kind of want to whittle him down so I can get him in range of the Weavile, and I know that whatever he's really going for, I can end up, you know, roosting off the damage, because I am bulky enough to take it. I am Spadef, so that's basically what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep roosting, as I'm still waiting for him to see what he's going to do. He could hard switch out into something like a Veltal, into Infernape, something that, you know, can be a little bit better against this Coco. But now I see his final move. So now what I can do is I can U-turn out, and I can now I had a 50-50 here. Either I U-turn as he goes for an attacking move, or I taunt this, he went for Ice Beam. I ended up clicking U-turn, as unfortunately he ends up winning this 50-50, and he goes for Roost, which puts him back up to about 100, well, basically 100%, which kind of bypasses all the damage that I was getting off on him with the U-turn and the Thunderbolt damage. So that's unfortunate. So far he's kind of winning the 50-50s here, but I'm just going to click knockoff here. I've seen both his moves. I think his last move is probably Defog. Unfortunately here he gets the paralysis. So out of like what, the 6 or 7 turns that this Mega Latias has been out, he's gotten paralyzed once, obviously the most crucial turn, but you know, that probably insignificant. He did tell me he went for Thunder Wave, it was his last move, so he didn't have Defog, but I ended up knocking him out with 2 knockoffs, and this allows him to bring out his Clefable. So my idea here is he's probably going to go for his own rocks. So again, I probably could have went out into my Gliscor here, could have got my Toxic Orb up, and I could have pivoted out or just went for Earthquake based on whatever he was going for. But I don't have a reason to knock off, and I don't know if he's going to click Moonblast or if he had any sort of coverage move. So he does click, he does put up his rocks, and I end up going out on my Coco. What I do end up deciding to do here is I click T-Bolt, which was not smart, because I end up, you know, getting this Clefable down really, really low. And I end up actually, this upcoming turn, I end up deciding to kill it. So now this is important because, again, I have had very, very many opportunities here to end up going into my Gliscor and being able to get up my Toxic Orb and, you know, defogging away. Now these rocks, unfortunately, you know, Mesprit is low, so I don't know the opportunity I would have had to get up my rocks, because a lot of his team was, you know, pretty much faster than my Mesprit. Maybe anything except like Suicune, but it really wasn't optimal. So, but again, now I get into Gliscor, and I know he's probably going to click Flare Blitz based on how I brought it in with Scarfed. I know I can take this. It's going to do maybe max like 50% if he's like adamant. And we see that's what it does, and he gets me down pretty much to half. But fucking unfortunately, he burns me. This is really significant, because this pretty much initiates an exchange for the next lot of turns that I did not really appreciate. But I got burned, and I was kind of pissed here, because, you know, obviously Gliscor is somewhat of a defensive tank, but seeing how he brought in his Infernape and knowing, even during the match, that he was a Scarf set, means that I know I could beat a Scarf Gliscor. scarfed Infernape with my Gliscor. Max defense, and then, you know, between Earthquake and U-turn, you know, not being burned means I could have taken on the Metagross, which we see in Team Preview, as well as his Infernape. So this kind of sucks, and it really cripples my Gliscor for pretty much the remainder of the turn. And arguably that probably was more significant than the Thunderbolt para, and actually I think less percent of it to happen too. So fucking Randy getting lucky again. So he ends up going out into his Suicune. I know what he's going to do here. He's going to go for Sub or he's going to go for Calm Mind, and neither of which I'm happy to do. And just a little bit of backstory, because I don't really feel like narrating this part, but basically he and I, unfortunately, during our exchange in this match, we couldn't really figure out a time like to battle. It was very, very late in our in the week leading up into our match. Now, as we're, you know, exchanging on times to play, on Thursday, I believe I came into work in the morning, then I went for an extra shift at the police department I work for, and then after that I spent a little bit of time with a lady friend, and then Friday kind of the same thing. I had an extra duty in the morning, I spent time with a lady friend, and then unfortunately I wasn't able to get back home for the time that he and I were set to play. Now, so he and I ended up playing, I believe, Friday night at about 12:30, I think, because we got to talk about 12:15, and then we ended up getting to starting the battle around 12:25, 12:30. Now, just to give you guys an idea, we ended up having to reconnect. There was a DC like during the team preview part, but when this exchange started to happen, where I'm facing a Suicune that clicks Sub, that has Protect, that has Calm Mind, that has Scald, which he gets the first Scald burn. If I click Scald, I never get a fucking burn, but he gets a Scald in the first burn, the first Scald. It's 1:12 in the morning, and now for any of you guys that know me or have watched my battles before, I fucking hate Suicune. I hate it. I think it's either a useless mon if it's in the wrong hands, or it's a fucking annoying mon if it's in the right hands, and unfortunately Randy knows how to use it. But not only just that, I just don't like this mon in at all. I think it's stupid, and I definitely don't want to do some Calm Mind Sub Protect bullshit set at 1:15 in the morning, let alone any time of the day. So we see how this goes. Click some Protects, click some Subs, click some T-Balls, click some Ruse, gets a Scald, gets a burn, and right now I know once the taunt wears off, I know his last move. It's either Toxic or it's Calm Mind. It's most likely Calm Mind, but it's probably, you know, basically I have to get some 50-50s right. Basically he right now, because the taunt's going to wear off, the Electrotrain's going to wear off, and he has no Sub. So here, one or two things that happen. Either I taunt as he goes for Calm Mind, or he Scalds as I go for Roost. I click Roost, thinking that he's going to go for Scald, expecting me to taunt. But unfortunately, he gets me on this one, and he goes and he clicks Calm Mind, which this is going to mean that the Scalds that he's doing are going to do probably 33 to 40% instead of 22 to like 30%. So this kind of sucks. And I basically now have to play around the burn, which negates my leftovers. I have to play around him subbing and protecting and being a +1, and I'm having no electric terrain. Now, I know once I taunt him, I mean, I have to taunt him, which could have been, you know, avoided before. The way that this turn probably could have worked out is like, I could have went for taunt as he went for Calm Mind, and then I could have pivoted out into my Latios, so he wouldn't have been a +1, and the Latios wouldn't be able to take a Scald no problem. So this unfortunately puts me in a very precarious position, because now next time Coco comes in, it's not really the greatest check to the Yveltal with rocks and with whatever coverage move his Yveltal wants to go for. So unfortunately I U-turn out, and this is going to do 0 damage because I'm burned again, because burns are, you know, name of Randy's game. And I'm going to go out into Latios, and just when you guys watch his narration in this exchange, I take a long time, because just I'm partially bothered by I'm bothered by the fact that he gets the burn so quickly with the Scald, but more so with the Gliscor. Yes, I did get a paralyzation with the T-Bolt against the Mega Latios, but that really wasn't as detrimental, which you'll kind of see, which you actually kind of already saw already. Because with the Infinite being scarfed, and then we ended up finding out later that his Yveltal is also scarfed, it really didn't matter what I went for in terms of, like, with Weavile, because he could knock me out either way. So whether I was paralyzed or the Weavile was like really low or burned even, it really didn't matter. So because it was just like death fodder for something later on in the match. So I go on to Latios, and I know, you know, my Calm Mind set's going to be able to beat him, and if he wants to race the +6, so be it. But I'm going to be trying to get to +2 or +3/+3 with my combines, because I know whether I click Z Side Shock or I click T-Bolt, it's going to be able to do big damage, if not completely knock out this Suicune, especially from full. So I go for a third combine, as I believe he goes for another Scald. I probably could have roosted here. Probably should have roosted here. But I kind of saw how much damage his Scald was doing, and I kind of expected him here actually to go for combine. So instead of him evening up with me, I wanted to get +3 and just kind of make sure I could stay even with him, even though it really didn't matter. But now he's going to make a pretty solid switch. He's going to switch out into his Yveltal, as I'm going to click my Roost to get back healthy again. This poses kind of an issue, because the way he brings it in, I know he's not faster, but I also know that if he has Sucker Punch, or if he Scarf with Knockoff, I'm going to die, because despite the Slightigos being max attack, or max HP I should say, a max attack, Knockoff, or even just Sucker Punch without any investment, if he's special attacking, it's just going to knock out Latios. And knowing Randy's luck, since he's going to be able to click Dark Pulse here, we see, first of all, he's modest, so that's going to bypass a lot of the boost that I got. Second of all, we see that because it's Randy, and because he's, I think he's lucky as hell, Dark Pulse probably could have flinched my Latios there, and it would have crippled it anyway, which means that with the burn, it probably wouldn't have been a very solid check to the Suicune, because had I gotten in later on, as I had to roost or something, he probably could have got a +1 or even +2. +1 on a switch, +2 on the, me getting up to my, to Calm Mind. I was at +1, he's at +2. But unfortunately, it knocks me out with two Dark Pulses. And letting Coco die right here was probably where this match is going to start falling apart, because I kind of need Coco to take on this, the Suicune, but especially the Yveltal, because now once Yveltal comes in, it's pretty much free to click whatever it really wants. But I'm going to click Knockoff knowing that he has to switch out, because I know he's not going to click Dark Pulse against a Weavile. And I'm going to knock off the Suicune's leftovers. It does a lot of damage for being Choice Banded. I'm going to click it again, because I know I'm not going to knock him out, but unfortunately I do. I got the crit, which, again, doesn't really matter. I mean, he was able to click Scald. It probably was only going to do about 31 or 35%. But, obviously it kind of solves the problem a little bit quicker, and kind of loads differential a little bit better in my favor. I am going to go out into my Mesprit, which is very low, and with the rocks, he can click whatever, U-turn, Flare Blitz, Mach Punch, doesn't fucking matter. He's going to knock me out regardless. And this puts it, we're getting down to the wire here. So this puts me in a position to be able to pick what I want to go out into, because he did knock me out with a U-turn. So he ends up going out into his Metagross, and I have a very solid check to this being my Scizor. Choice Banded Scizor to an AV, which I expected his set to be, is going to do upwards of like 95% minimum. Choice Banded, Adamant, all that. Now, I probably should have been at upwards like 75% here, but unfortunately, because I wasn't faster than the Clefable, I had to take 2 Moonblasts and now the Rocks damage. I'm going to click Knockoff. We do see here that he's a Cobra Berry set. A little unfortunate, but I know that regardless of what he has, I know he doesn't have Fire Punch. I doubt he has HP Fire. That'd be stupid. If he goes Meteor Mash, Earthquake, Rock Slide, which we see that he has, as long as he doesn't flinch me, I know that I can knock him out with a second Knockoff. It's going to do enough damage to knock him out. But, unfucking-fortunately, he seals the game up right here. He fucking gets a flinch, and now the reason that this match is so late is because of that flinch. I've recorded this now twice, and unfortunately, because of that flinch, I've just been like the Salt River has a flow. I've just been flowing, and I got really mad at this game. Mostly because I don't think I played poorly. I mean, obviously, there are things I could have switched, like letting this Gliscor get its Toxic Orb initiated against the Clefable, but I didn't want Gliscor to get weakened because of the Moonblast damage, and then even with the Toxic Orb, I didn't want it to be less of a check for the Infernape. So unfortunately, we do see that actually the burn KO is going to go towards Infernape, but not towards the Metagross, based on the fact that it happened because of the Flare Blitz. He actually ends up living on 1 fucking HP, and he goes for Earthquake. The roll was kind of in my favor, but it doesn't fucking matter. He knocks me out with Earthquake, and then because I'm petty, I don't click Ice Shard to let Infernape or Yveltal get a kill. I actually end up clicking, it doesn't matter, as he's faster than me, clicks Earthquake, and he's going to knock me out. So that's going to be the match, and like I said, the reason that this match is taking so long for me to upload is because I hate this game, and I hate this match specifically. I think, Randy's a lucky son of a bitch, and I'm not going to lie, I was upset after the match. No one really wants to lose in that fashion, and I especially don't want to lose in this fashion. Ladio's going to come in. He ends up clicking Ice Punch. It doesn't matter. So, you know, he knocks me out, and he's going to win the game. And it sucks, but I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, this team, I tried, you know, each week I try and build. I try and create some sort of competent build. I try and fucking come in here and take on someone and surprise a very solid contender and someone who I thought I'd build really well against. I think I led the game off well with tricking the Clefable. I thought I had a very good solid lock on his team. Letting Coco die sooner than I needed it to was probably stupid because that meant a Veltal, and Suicune could run around loose. But having, you know, Latios, which pretty much took on the Suicune, the Infernape, and the Veltal, meant that I probably could have won. And then, you know, I think what sealed him the game was getting the burn on Gliscor early on. That kind of threw a lot of momentum out the window for me, and pretty much in his favor because that allowed Suicune to come in, that allowed Infernape and Metagross to pretty much disregard anything Gliscor was going to do, and then fucking, you know, him getting the stupid lucky flinch on Scizor. So I'm not gonna lie, I've recorded this now 3 times, and the first 2 times I was just fucking angry, just salt spilling everywhere. I dislike Randy. I dislike how lucky he is. I dislike this match, and I'm not gonna lie, I dislike this season. I think this match here is pretty much what just kind of pushing me over the edge. I don't like this team. I don't like playing. I don't like planning. I don't like even prepping for any sort of match. And I'm just being honest with you guys. I mean, am I making the best decisions? No, not really. Am I making like stupid decisions? You could argue that, but you know what? That doesn't negate the effort that myself or other coaches who are also struggling put in and come out with fucking these huge L's that are just so unsatisfying and it's just annoying. And I don't know. I just don't like this Uber season. I don't like this team. I'm probably gonna make some changes, controversial changes, which you'll see after my match against Tup, which he's our week 7 opponent, and his team's also pretty terrifying. He has things like Entei and Zero Aura and Shaman Sky, which I wanted in the draft, Greninja, Battle Bond form, and even Mega Scissors. So all those mons are going to be really, really offensive and probably big threats to my team. So we'll prep accordingly, and I'll try and come in. I'll try and score a win for you guys. But for the time being, I'm not enjoying myself. Now, in my personal life, things are going well. I'm actually in 2 processes for hire with 2 police departments, which I'm very happy because I've spent years trying to get on the force somewhere, and it's finally turned around because it's like the effort I'm putting in real life isn't necessarily translating to the effort I'm putting in Mons because this game is kind of dumb. So I'm just going to play the rest of this season out, and we'll see what happens with Tup. Hopefully I can score a win, and then after that we have Jolt, Danza, and Aaron, all of which are, you know, are they on like a winning streak or just playing really well. So we'll see what fucking happens. That's the match. I'll see you guys next week for Tup. Bye.